Drew Smyly has been dazzling since his debut for Tampa Bay 3 weeks ago, posting a 2-1 record with a sparkling 1.55 ERA. Tonight, Drew draws the pitching assignment in Baltimore, taking on Nelson Cruz and the power-laden Orioles. Tonight's Wednesday Showdown is brought to you by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. It is a warm but pleasant evening in Baltimore as the Rays and the Orioles continue their 4-game series. Tonight, Game 3 on tap from Camden Yards. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. We'll be hearing from Todd Callis throughout the evening as well. Rays have dropped the first 2 games of this series. They have 30 games left to play, 8.5 back in the wild card. And B.A., Joe Madden says as long as it's mathematically possible, he's going to continue to talk about the postseason.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you have to hang your hat on. You just continue to press on. Listen, sports is a funny business, and you just never know. So you've got to go out there and compete night in and night out and let the chips fall where they may. But right now, they're still alive. Act like it.
First 2 games of this series, the Rays have had some trouble scoring runs, but Evan Longoria on this road trip continues to produce with men in scoring position.
Yeah, Evan Longoria has said, listen, there's nothing I can do about my batting average, but what I can do is have productive at-bats, and that's exactly what he's doing on this road trip. The Rays have scored 17 runs. Evan Longoria has driven in 7 of them by hitting .375 with runners in scoring position, and if you look at what he's done even since the All-Star break, 30 runs batted in, good enough for 3rd in the American League, and he's getting it done in a variety of ways, shooting the ball the other way, showing the power stroke a little bit, driving the ball, home run, extra base hits. You just hope that that continues, because when Evan Longoria is driving in runs, this is a completely different offense, much more consistent. Drew Smyly, on the other hand, is going to take the ball tonight for the Rays, coming off of his finest outing of his career, and that was up in Toronto on this road trip. He went 9 shutout innings, gave up just 2 hits, no earned runs, obviously, retired the last 19 men that he faced, and he did it all on 105 pitches. It doesn't get a whole lot better than what Drew was able to do his last time out.
And there you see his outing against the Baltimore Orioles as a member of the Detroit Tigers back in May. 6 innings in that start of 1-run, 5-hit baseball, 7 strikeouts in that one with a couple of bases on balls. Drew Smyly set to go at it tonight against the Baltimore Orioles. He'll be opposed by the young right-hander Kevin Gausman after his 8th win. This will be his 15th start of the year. Gausman comes in 7-5 out of LSU. The Rays and the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles, by virtue of the first 2 wins in this 4-game series, have taken the season series now. The Rays 4-10 against the Orioles coming into play tonight. First pitch, moments away. Rays and the Orioles from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Drew Smiley set to go to work. Kevin Gausman on the hill for Baltimore tonight. Here's the lineup he will face, put together by Joe Madden and presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Desmond Jennings back in the leadoff spot. Ben Zobrist hits second and Matt Joyce third. Evan Longoria, who has been the DH the last couple games, at third base hitting cleanup. James Loney at first. Will Myers the designated hitter. Yunel Escobar at shortstop with Ryan Hannigan catching again. Kevin Kiermaier returns to the lineup. He is in right field.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Baltimore Orioles is right-hander Kevin Gausman, making his 15th start of the season here for the Birds. 7-5 record, 3.81 earned run average. He's had 3 starts in his career against the Rays. When he's commanded the baseball one time, good start. When he's not been able to command it, the Rays have gotten to him and put big numbers up on him. He's got the best stuff on this staff. We should be able to tell how this outing is going to go very early. Now let's take a look at the Baltimore defense as it lines up behind Kevin tonight in the outfield. Left to right, we have Nelson Cruz, Adam Jones, and Nick Markakis. Across the infield, third to first, Chris Davis, J.J. Hardy, Jonathan Scope, and Steve Pearce. Caleb Joseph back behind the plate.
So there's Gausman, 23 years old. 6'3" right-hander. In their GMC big matchup, the Rays have won 2 of the 3 decisions he has against them. And the earned run average is 7.04 in those 3 career starts for Gausman against the Rays.
And that includes a 6-inning start that was scoreless. 6 shutout innings by Gausman. So you can see the other 2 times where he's not had the command, they've put up huge numbers.
Well, Desmond Jennings will lead off against him. Desmond will be looking for his first hit in his career off Gausman. He's 0 for 5 against him and goes after that first pitch fastball. Strike 1, the first pitch presented by Pinch-A-Penny. As Jennings can be ready for the fastball there, he just failed to make contact. He's searching for that first pitch fastball. Now a strike and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, the first pitch caught a little bit more of the plate. That one was driven downhill very nicely by Gausman right to the corner. This is what you do not want to see out of him. As you can see with the miles per hour and the late movement, he's got great stuff.
Cut the miss. 3 pitches and Jennings is out of there. Let's check in with Todd Callis for the first time this evening. Todd?
Dwayne, thanks. It is a website Wednesday, which means fans can ask questions, and the guys up in the booth will be checking out answers all night long. Here's how you do it. Either via Twitter at SunSportsRays with the hashtag AskRays, or you can email us, and that email address is at SunSportsRays@gmail.com. So 2 different ways to get a hold of us. Ask your questions, and Dwayne and B.A. will have the answers later tonight on our website Wednesday.
We're just not guaranteeing the veracity of those answers. Sometimes we'll consult with Todd Callis on those answers.
And you know what? By the look of Todd tonight and his excitement, energy level, we're going to get good feedback.
We'll be right on top of it. 1-0 the count to Ben Zobrist. Pitch is high, 2-0. He's dropping from 6.5 back to 8.5 back over the last 4 days. The race for the second wild card spot. There's a shot deep to right field. Markakis looking up, and that's going to be off the scoreboard wall. Zobrist on his way to second, and they're standing with a double. 31st double of the year for Zobrist.
Well, with Gausman, this is the story of him, the first 2 batters. Those 3 pitches to Desmond Jennings, spot on, a strikeout. Falls behind. Ben Zobrist is forced into the zone, actually maybe up and out of the zone, but forced into a 2-0 count. And Ben almost takes this one out of the yard, right off the top of that high wall out there in right field.
Just pulled it a little bit too much. Just a few feet to the left of that, it would have gone into the seats. It's been 6th hit and 10 at bats now against Gausman. Scoring opportunity in the first. Here's Matt Joyce. First pitch is a strike.
Yeah, that is the story of Kevin Gausman. He pitches out in front, he's going to have success. He falls behind, he's forced into the zone. When he is behind, he throws his fastball approaching 80% of the time, so you know what's coming.
Into the dirt. Joseph had a little trouble locating it, and a heads-up move. Zobrist winds up at third on a wild pitch. Joseph blocked the pitch but couldn't find it.
Now this ball straight down. You see Ben Zobrist with his secondary, and then once Caleb Joseph fails to locate it right away, that's when you see Ben take off. Good job by Ben to not give up on that secondary lead and start to head back towards second a little bit too soon. Was able to read it, puts himself into really good scoring position now.
Pitch outside. 2-1.
Chance for the Rays here to jump out in front. Matt Joyce has the count in his favor. Baltimore infield is playing at half depth.
Two and one the count on Joyce. There is ball 3. That wild pitch for Gausman, the 7th he has thrown this year. And a little over 78 innings. It gives you an idea of the inconsistency of his pitches. Great arm. First round pick out of LSU. There's a hot shot back to second. Scope's coming to the plate. Safe. Scope back at second base, trying to make the long throw. And Zobrist beats it in. 1-0 Rays.
Yeah, getting a little bit too aggressive there, Jonathan Scope. That what fooled him was the ball got out to him so quick. Ben Zobrist is running on contact, but the infield is not in. They had actually moved back there at regular depth, and that's just too far of a throw to make. You know, if he was still at medium depth, then maybe you do that. That far back, not going to get there in time.
And look at the pickup by Joseph, though, on this throw. He was impressive last night. He can use that catcher's mitt like infielders use their gloves.
He scoops as well as a first baseman. He really does, with the catcher's glove, with the equipment on.
Evan Longoria takes a pitch inside. So Matt Joyce will get a run batted in. One and one. Evan with the 74 runs batted in, leading the team in that department. James Loney is next with 60. 1-2.
Well, he's third in the American League since the All-Star break. We touched on that in the open with 30 runs batted in. Has done that in 35 games, where prior to that point he had 44 runs driven in 97 games.
It'll be a foul ball. Well, the RBI leader since the All-Star break. You can see where Evan is with 30, and Chris Carter, who has gone on that home run binge, tops that list with 37 for Houston. Ball 2, 2-2. Rays have scored a run already on Gausman. James Loney on deck. Count is full.
Yeah, and this is how you can have success. Make him work from behind, continue to throw pitches. You see right now another full count. an opportunity here where you're going to force him out over the plate or you're going to take a walk. And that's when you can have success, and that has been the Rays' formula against him.
Runner goes 3-2 and a base hit out of the reach of Hardy. Matt Joyce advances to second as Longoria singles into left.
Well, you force him to throw a strike, and you know in this situation more than likely going to be the heater. And so even though it's a good pitch with velocity, if you're going to put it there and give hitters the chance to hit it hard. That's what Evan did. And the Rays keep it going here in the first.
Diving attempt by Hardy. 2 men on with a run home. 1 out in this inning. James Loney. Loney had a hit and a walk in last night's game. The Rays threaten for another big first inning. Only fouls it out of play. Rays had a couple men on last night, settled for 1 run in the first. And what appeared to be promising. In fact, you go back to Sunday's game in Toronto. They had some opportunities for a big inning in the first that time and settled for 1 run. Loney in the hole, 2 strikes.
It has been their struggles with runners in scoring position. And how about these numbers? They have the 5th most ABs in the American League with runners in scoring position, but they have the 5th lowest average, the 5th most strikeouts, and the 3rd lowest slugging percentage. That's been the issue.
Well, it tells you in a nutshell, if you look at the on-base percentage and then the slugging percentage, that encapsulates that situation. They've had a good on-base percentage. They draw a lot of walks. They hit their way on. 6th in the league right now in on-base percentage, but 14th in slugging and below the team batting average with men in scoring position. So a little number, it's going to stay foul as it's picked up by Joseph. Joseph hustling up that third baseline as that ball rolled foul, but hit the grass on that side, and that could roll it back fair, in which case Loney would have had an infield hit.
You figure a left-handed hitter swinging at that pitch, hits it off the end of the bat, it's going to have that reverse spin. And if that reverse spin catches that lip, that'll throw it right back close to in play. And that's what Caleb Joseph recognized and why he popped out of his squat down there and got that ball as quick as he could.
The 1-2 to Loney. And a line base hit into right field. Joyce will be stopped by Foley. Now the throw comes through, and Longoria has run right into third base, and the Rays make a big base running mistake there.
Yeah, that was just not read well at all. That ball was scorched out into right field, so there was absolutely no way you're going to send Matt Joyce up against the arm of Markakis. But you see Evan Longoria, he's assuming score the whole way. Actually, when he saw the throw come in and head over the cutoff man's head, that's when you got into trouble. These are the mistakes that have killed the Rays. 3 men thrown out at the plate last night. Now you have a chance for bases loaded and 1 out with a run already on the board. Those are the things that just cannot happen.
So instead of the bases loaded and 1 out, 1st and 3rd, 2 outs now. And it's up to Will Myers if the Rays are to add any more runs here in the inning. Strike 1. Big base running blunder by the Rays in the first.
Oh man, that hurts. That hurts badly because they're squaring up Gausman pretty good, getting him into some bad counts, making hard contact. Got a chance for a really big inning. Still do. Not done yet. But boy, that didn't help.
1-1 to count.
And it just looked like when Evan came around second base, there was a slight hesitation, as if he was reading the throw. And when he saw the throw come directly in and Steve Pearce let it go, maybe assuming there that there's going to be a play at the plate, now he's going to take third.
And you can understand that. He actually, coming around the bag at second, turned completely around as he was trying to get an eye on the ball. And what Markakis was doing, pitch is down. 2-1, and when the ball came through, he assumed there was going to be a play at the plate. He wanted to be at third.
Except one thing. That's why Tom Foley is down there, your third base coach. Yeah. You come around second, and the play's behind you. You got to pick up the third base coach. At that point, he would have seen exactly what was going on and wouldn't have needed to kind of freelance.
2-2. Here's a wider look. Watch Longoria around second.
See, if he picks up Foley, he sees that Matt Joyce is being held. He watches the throw, and that's where he got caught.
Now it's a 2-2 count on Myers. We're going to go all the way to 3-2.
Well, regardless of that, Gausman has shown he is not sharp here in the early going. That bodes well for the Rays.
The caveat being, when a guy is out there struggling, you want to get him then and not gamble on the idea that he might find it. The tapper, and it's foul.
You act as if you've seen that before.
Just a few times. And Joe Madden was talking about that before the game today, about the offense and the missed opportunities. They just never have, for a long period of time, been able to put those good innings and at-bats together. Had a little run where it appeared promising there offensively, but it's been frustrating most of the year. The little looper into shallow right. That's going to drop. Rays are going to get another run. Joyce crosses the plate. Loney will go to third. And the Rays do make it a 2-0 ball game here as Myers drops it into shallow right.
Well, that pitch jammed Will Myers, but strong enough with the swing. As you see this ball tailing in, wanted it away and got in on Will, but he was strong enough to drop it out in there into right center, and the Rays are able to get that second run home.
You know, here's the thing about the Orioles and their pitching, especially their starting pitching, and you touched on it with Gausman. The Orioles see Gausman, 23 years old, good arm. They're in a position where they can start to entertain the postseason, and they'd like to have him in the rotation because he's got the best stuff in terms of arm in this rotation. But you have a chance to run into what they're running into with him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's being extended. Since the All-Star break, he has not been sharp at all. And can you trust him in a postseason game? You know, right now, this is what would be happening, although McFarland would probably be further along in getting loose. And that is the issue that the Orioles will run into. It'll see how it plays out the next month. But he's going to have to get a whole lot better to be able to make that postseason rotation.
Escobar, who's 4 out of 5 in his career against Gausman, takes the first pitch away.
And you're right. You would love to have him there because they don't have a stuff guy.
Yep.
You know, they've got good, solid starting pitching, but not stuff guys.
Yep. There's a strike. And now it's 1-1. And a lot of managers will tell you, you get to the postseason, it's nice to have a stuff guy or two in that rotation and in the bullpen. And we've seen our bullpen, how deep and varied it is. Now 2-1.
These are the counts that he has lived in against the Rays. And the other problem is because he's not as refined as other pitchers. He's so young that when he's behind, here it is. Here comes my fastball.
Ground ball to short. Hardy takes it to second for the force play. And the Rays are finished in the first inning. They pick up 2, take that lead into the bottom half of the frame. To carry into the bottom of the first here in Baltimore tonight. Take a look at the Baltimore lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Familiar with Nick Markakis leading off and Steve Pearce hitting second in front of the center fielder Adam Jones. 366 against lefties this year. Nelson Cruz, Delman Young, and J.J. Hardy with Young the DH. Then Chris Davis, Caleb Joseph, Jonathan Scope, the second baseman, bats ninth.
Well, taking the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays, Drew Smyly, who has been nothing short of sensational for the Rays since coming over in the trade. 4 starts, a 1.55 earned run average. I'll tell you, he has not let the change of address factor into his performances at all. He's been very good, no better than he was his last time out with a 2-hit shutout.
Retired the last 19 men he faced and faced just 1 over the minimum in that start. Markakis fouls the first pitch, and that's a strike. Smyly 8 and 10 overall, but 2 and 1 with the Rays. He's held lefties to a 120 average, 3 out of 25, and right-handed hitters just a smidge over 180. Down to first base, and there's Loney with the scoop, stepping on the bag.
Well, that ball hit hard by Markakis, played by Loney, and here you see his breakout. When he was with Detroit, the ERA a little over 4.2, but since coming over to the Rays, he has been outstanding. Fastball, curveball, cutter, and an occasional changeup.
Pitch to Steve Pearce is low. Pearce continues to be a red hot hitter. A 9-game hitting streak for Pearce. He takes this one down 2-0. 342 for the life of that streak.
He has done tremendous work against the Rays this year.
It's really amazing how these stories play out. He's a guy who can play multiple positions with pop, but at the end of April they let him go, designated him for assignment, and only because of an injury they re-signed him. And now with all the injuries they're facing, he's stepping right in, and they haven't missed a beat with their offense. No, recently losing Manny Machado.
Yeah, he's become a go-to guy. You see him up in the 2-hole.
And a walk issued by Smyly.
Let's go ahead and set the defense tonight for you. For the Rays, as it lines up in the outfield, it goes Matt Joyce, Desmond Jennings, and Kevin Kiermaier left to right. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Yunel Escobar, Ben Zobrist, and James Loney. Ryan Hannigan back behind the plate.
St. Pierce took a couple pitches up and drew the walk. Scott Berry is working the plate. His strike zone, his history is that it tends to be a little bigger on left-handed hitters and not so big with right-handed hitters. We'll see if that at bat to Pierce holds true. Breaking ball drops in for a strike to Adam Jones. Jones 288 overall, but a terror against left-handed pitching. Smiley quickly gets the jump on him. 0-2.
Yeah, and if I'll tell you what, a pitcher is so happy if he can get that pitch called for a strike and know that he can go in there not only for effect but for a called strike. That makes Drew Smiley's job a whole lot easier.
Cut and a miss. He strikes out Adam Jones on 3 pitches. 2 gone.
Now this was a breaking ball that not only fooled Adam Jones with the location, but look how far out in front he was. Mistimed that pitch. You know, that really is a curveball that he should be able to pick up and at least be in the seam. You may miss it, but at least you're on it. He was way out in front of that pitch.
Got a call strike on a breaking ball to begin the at bat. Strikes him out swinging on that one. And here's the major league's home run leader, Nelson Cruz, which is inside.
I'll tell you what, the Rays have held him this year to a 207 average. They have pitched him very tough.
One.
Well, that's typically what teams will do. You're going to highlight a player or two, maybe on this Baltimore team, 3 or 4 that you don't want to have beat you because they have so much power. But I'll tell you what, when they identify guys and they game plan for guys, they can really shut down a team's big stick.
1-2 as he fouls this one back. Rays with 2 in the top of the first. Orioles have a base runner on the walk to Pierce. 2 outs and a ball 2-strike count with Cruz in the box. Jams him and pops him up. Escobar is right there to make the catch. Man left on. We're at the end of an inning. 2-0 Rays. on Sun Sports, brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Checkers Big Philly flavors, small price. Checkers Philly cheesesteak and the new Chicken Philly, each just $1.99. By the Florida Department of Transportation, who reminds you to drive sober or get pulled over. And by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. It takes conviction, creativity, and courage to build cars worth driving. This is the Mazda way. On to the second inning. The Rays got to Gausman for a couple in the first. Could have had more. They have a 2-0 lead. It'll be Hannigan, Kiermaier, and Jennings up in the second against Gausman. Ryan just back off the disabled list. He had a walk and a single in the game last night. Which is a strike. Inside, 1-1.
Yeah, how frustrating would it have been if they would have been held to just 1 run? And 2, you're right, they could have had and should have had more than that.
Yep.
But
you come out of there with 1 run, you still feel defeated.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking at bases loaded, 1 out. All of a sudden that went away, and then Will Myers able to bloop 1 in and get you that second run. But regardless, a frustrating inning for the Rays.
Little tapper foul, big cut and a roller third base side. Hannigan missed all that time with the oblique injury. The left oblique strain cost him 38 games, his second stint on the DL this year. And a good look at the fastball. That one clocked in at 96, and an easy 96 for Gausman. Kevin Kiermaier on deck. Out of play into the second deck.
Well, you know, and a pitcher can have that. He can have that 94 to 96. But if he's not able to command anything else or pitch ahead in the count, that allows hitters good swings at it, allows them the ability to fight off some tough pitches.
Ground ball deep short. Hardy with time. The throw stays down and skips beyond Pierce. And Hannigan is aboard. Hannigan hustling down the line, but as catchers go, difficult for catchers to show much speed, but he did show hustle. This will be an error charged to Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy with that low throw, and we've seen Steve Pierce go down like that and make a number of nice scoops in this series, but that ball stayed down on him. He was expecting it to come up a little bit. It stayed down and shot right past him.
Leadoff hitter aboard in the second for Kevin Kiermaier. Kevin out of the starting lineup in the first 2 games of this series with a stiff neck. Which is a strike. Kiermaier starting the night, hitting .275. Two. Fastball by him. Second strikeout for Gausman.
And you would keep beating a dead horse. That's what he can do when he pitches ahead.
Yeah.
That's the conundrum with Kevin Gausman.
Well, that's what's going to make it difficult going into the postseason, making a decision on him. They'd love to have him.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. He'll determine that himself. He's going to have another, at least you would figure 4 or 5 starts, maybe 6 including tonight down the stretch, and he will determine his own fate.
Yeah.
And if he's able to piece it together, then absolutely you throw him in there and say, go dominate somebody.
Yeah, that could determine how well this team does in any possible postseason bid.
Yeah, because you figure
no pitch there.
The way that you look at how they break out, Chris Tillman, is going to be in there, Wei Yin Chen, and now you've got Miguel Gonzalez, Bud Norris, Kevin Gausman, and you're going to need at least 1, 2 more. You're going to have at least 4 if you're going to plan on going deep.
Yep.
So he's got an opportunity, and you could see why they would be excited, but he's got to be able to show better command.
Well, after what has been a very great season for Baltimore, he could be the key to their entire postseason success. 1-1 now, the count to Desmond Jennings. Two and one. Up the right side, that's got a chance to stay fair. It is a fair ball and into the corner. Extra bases for Jennings. To third goes Hannigan. Second and third with 1 out. 29th double of the year for Desmond Jennings.
No, they just continue to give Gausman a hard time. This Rays lineup, a good approach off of him. Desmond Jennings puts a good swing on this pitch. He's able to keep it just fair. Not a terrible pitch by Gausman. Better job by Jennings to go out and get it. And that close, few inches.
And Ben Zobrist, who doubled and scored in the first, up here with a big opportunity to add to this early lead. Pitch is too low. See if the Rays can cash in on another chance. It's a strike around the knees. 1-1. McFarland in the bullpen again. Zobrist 6 of 10 now in his career against Gausman. So the Rays have the hitter up there they'd love to have in this situation. It's a high fly ball into right. Markakis back just to the track to make the catch. Runners tag. Hannigan will score. Jennings goes to third. That fly ball makes it 3-0. Ben Zobrist driving in the run.
That was in a similar spot of the one that he almost hit for a home run in his first at bat. Fastball elevated. Ben showing the ability to get to that baseball and hit it hard. Drives another run home for the Rays, and congratulated by his teammates, rightly so. Just keep adding on, keep the pressure on. Guys have shown the ability to do that to young pitching.
Now Matt Joyce, 2 outs. Jennings at third. First pitch is a strike. Fastball in the mid-90s here from Gaussman. Joyce hit the ball on the ground to Scope, who was back at second base in the first inning. Made a play on the runner as the Rays broke out in front. Zobrist scored from third on the ground ball to second. So Joyce on a fielder's choice, picking up a run batted in. Looper back at third and is foul. Well, that puts Joyce down 1-2. Well, the Rays with 3 runs early in this game. Foul ball back. Rays had scored only 5 runs over their last 3 games. 2 in the first tonight, another one in the second inning. And a man at third with 2 outs. Joyce trying to get him home. Foul ball, just a little piece of apple.
That was impressive there by Matt Joyce, because that was a really good pitch by Gaussman, and he's able to kind of keep his hands back just long enough to get a piece of it. Say, this approach from the Rays hitters off of Gaussman tonight has been very impressive. I mean, you're talking about making him work, already above the mid-50s in pitches. You're going halfway through the lineup almost. Everybody's already seen him. Some have seen him twice.
And strike 3 call. He got a fastball in there at 97. Rays score 1 and lead 3-0. To you at HD by H.H. Gregg. The Rays in Baltimore. The warehouse beyond the right field area. Camden Yards, Memorial Park here. Over 20 years old now. Opened in 1992. It is a beautiful ballpark. And well maintained. Beautiful setting for baseball. What a difference it has made here in the Inner Harbor area as well. The centerpiece of what has gone on here. There's a strike to Delman Young. Young, the DH tonight. He spent the last couple of games in the outfield. Cruz is in left and Young DHing in this game.
Well, Buck Showalter not wanting to take his bat out of the lineup. Talked about some of the injuries. Manny Machado, Delman Young swings the bat well against left-handed pitching. He swung the bat well against the Rays this year. You just make sure you keep running them out there. Part of what makes this offense so dangerous.
Yeah, he was on the Orioles telecast the other day. They asked him about hitting. He said, I just try to hit a home run every time.
Keep it simple.
Try to pull the ball and hit a home run. Zobrist takes care of that grounder to second, and Delman Young is out number one.
Yeah, and he's out number one because he did neither. He neither pulled the ball or hit a home run.
Well, when he comes up again, that'll be on his mind.
And that's about the most simple approach that you can possibly have. And what's amazing is if that is indeed the case, hitting over 300, searching for a home run every time, that's not easy to do.
He got a hit the other day to the opposite field. They asked him about that. He said, I was just late. I was trying to hit a home run to left. One strike the count to J.J. Hardy. Sky to center. Not overly deep, and Jennings is waiting. So 2 gone. With quick outs here. Place your reservation for 2015 ticket plans. Establish seniority now and be in line for priority upgrades to the best seat locations and exclusive benefits throughout the season. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. The Rays with just a couple home stands left. They'll be home Friday night with Boston in. It'll be the start of a 10-game homestand. Boston for 4, Toronto 3, and then this Baltimore club for 3. Chris Davis looks at a pitch down. The Rays hit the road for a week to New York and Toronto, come home and play the Yankees and the White Sox, and that's it. Final trip of the year takes the Rays into Boston and Cleveland. And the regular season will be complete. Counting this one, 30 games left for the Rays, 16 of those at home. And a strike, and it's 2-1 to Chris Davis.
Now things are going to really start to speed up. And so the Rays need to do big time work right now. They need to get on just an extended winning streak. That's just the bottom line. If they have any hope, they're going to have to rattle some games.
Shot deep to center. And that ball is gone. Chris Davis belting his 23rd home run of the year. And Jennings and Kiermaier back, and I think both of them thought that they might get a play off the wall when that one disappeared.
When we watch the replay and watch the swing of Chris Davis, any other hitter that takes this swing, this ball's nowhere near leaving the yard. Just shows you how strong he is. Just goes out there, gets it, hand off the bat. That ball's down and away. And able to go down, scoop it, and drop it over the wall. That's impressive power, which we know he has.
Caleb Joseph, the catcher, looking at a strike. It's 0-2. That's the second home run of the series for Chris Davis. And a big cut to miss. Joseph out on strikes. That retires the side. Baltimore with a run on the home run by Chris Davis, and that's it. We're through 2, and the Rays lead 3-1. Over the rail and down he
third inning. Evan Longoria will lead things off for Tampa Bay. Longoria is sporting some new shoes, wore them yesterday for the first time. They're actually self-designed New Balance shoes. He said he didn't realize when he was designing them, guys, how loud they were. But he's proud of them. They have a little Longoria 3 on the tongue. So we had a few people ask us on Web Wednesday, what's the deal with the new neon shoes for Longoria? Our next question for you guys is, September 1, rosters can be expanded. Who might we see added to the Rays come Monday, guys?
You know, I don't think we're going to see a big number, especially with the Durham Bulls having another successful season and in the playoffs. So I don't think, at least initially, we're going to see a lot of players added to the roster when the calendar turns to September.
I know Joe Madden has said, speaking of not a lot, by the way, that there couldn't have been a lot. I mean, with the shoes, how many questions do you think we got on the shoes this early? I mean, really?
What are you saying?
I'm saying that sounds almost made up, that question. Fabricated, if you will.
I think there's...
and they are loud, too, by the way.
They are loud. Yeah, how could you not think that those were anything but loud?
Yeah. Leave a little vapor trail when you're running.
The lights could go out. You could watch them run around the bases.
Could be entertaining.
Yeah. This one is down. I think there's going to be, however, a charity angle to that. I'm sure Todd has all the information on that.
Sounds like a segment.
So we'll be watchful for that in the near future.
Now getting back to the September call-up, I know one thing that Joe did say is he wants a speed guy. He wants someone to come up here that can flat out run on those base paths. And so we'll see who that may be. But that is the one request coming from Joe Madden. We know that. Kurt Casale, another guy that you're going to see back right away.
Strike 3 called. Longoria. The first out in the third. Fourth strikeout for Gausman. Got him a fastball away.
Great location here by Gausman. You see the reach. When his head is on the target, he gets that great reach. The pitch stays on the plane to the glove, and he picks up the strikeout looking there.
Now Loney hits it on the ground to Scope. The Orioles second baseman makes that play. 2 up and 2 down. 2 quick outs in the third. the speed element is something that for a long time the Rays had a lot of, and it has been limited this year. And as we all know, watching Joe Maddon manage, he likes to make things happen, and that's one less tool that he's had in that bag to use. He's tried to force the issue at times and maybe make up for that deficit. But if you've got some out-and-out speed, a lot of things you can do with it.
Yeah, and you know what? And that furthers Joe Maddon's desire to play National League style baseball.
Yeah.
He likes that style. Put things in motion, manufacture, put the pressure on the pitcher, on the defense. And speed certainly will do that.
Down to short off the bat of Myers, and he's out. A quick 1-2-3 inning for Gausman. Bottom half of the third coming. 3-1 Rays. And our seventh point in the season series, it has not been all that pleasant a story for the Rays, who are 4-10 against Baltimore, and the Orioles have outperformed the Rays in all of these areas here.
Yeah, and Joe Maddon has said, hey, listen, I think that we're on the same, on par with the Baltimore Orioles. The teams are very similar. And maybe when the Rays are going very, very well, that's true. But those numbers would suggest otherwise through 14 games. Been pretty dominant performance by the Orioles.
Jonathan Scope takes the pitch for a strike. Well, we were talking in the first game of this series, if the Rays had been able just head-to-head to break even with Baltimore, they could have come into this series in second place in the division the way it has stacked up this year, and with a chance to put some pressure on Baltimore. The Orioles have taken care of business.
Yeah, and well, then that's what you do. That's how you put yourself at the top of a division with a comfortable lead. You go out and beat teams and beat up on teams. They have beat up on teams within their division, the American League East, better than anybody else in the American League.
Yeah, they're 32-19 inside the division. You want to win a division, you beat the teams in that division.
How often do we talk about it? You want to make up ground in a hurry, you play those teams that are in the same division with you. That's how you make up the big chunks. Well, you put up that kind of record, and you build a big lead.
Marquez taking a strike. Our cold hard facts brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. And there's the breakout inside the division. The rest of the division really close to, or one way or the other, around 500 inside the division, but not the Orioles. The Blue Jays 3 over, the Rays 2 under, Yankees under, and the Red Sox way under. But the Blue Jays, the second best in the division, within the division, behind the Orioles. The Orioles 32-19. Markakis out to Jennings. 2 gone. Drew Smyly. Face Steve Pearce. Smyly coming off the first complete game. A 2-hit shutout. First of his career. And the first pitch is a strike.
That was his first complete game in his professional career.
That's right.
You know, how about the fact 40 starts in the big leagues in his career? He's gone 7+ innings 6 times. He's gone 7+ innings his last 3 starts with the Rays, and he's averaging over 7 innings a start with the Rays.
He has gone out there and with great command set his own pace. Fly ball into right. Kiermaier is there, and it's a 1-2-3 third. We're headed into the 4th. The Rays lead 3-1. Baltimore in the game tonight and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Miguel Escobar preparing to lead off the 4th against Gausman. Kevin Gausman, 23-year-old right-hander on the hill. Escobar, Hannigan, and Kiermaier due up for the Rays. Collegiate flavor of this pitching matchup. Tiger from LSU, Kevin Gausman against the Arkansas Razorback, Drew Smyly. And now Yunel Escobar steps in. 4 of 6 in his career now against Gausman, and that makes him 5 of 7. First pitch and a base hit into left. For the Rays, that's their 6th hit. Ryan Hannigan. Hannigan reached on Hardy's error in the second inning, and the Rays converted that into a run. Too low. Gausman had a very economical third. He made a lot of pitches in the first and second innings. 34 in the first and 23 in the second, but only 8 in the third.
That allows him to get a little bit closer to being on track, but Rays have an opportunity here, leadoff man aboard, to continue to extend that pitch count, try to get him out of this game early. That's what the Baltimore Orioles have done to the Rays in winning the first 2 games of this series. Get into the bullpen as quickly as possible.
1-0 the count to Hannigan. Two balls, no strikes. Gausman misses for the 3rd straight time to Hannigan. Gausman making his 15th start of the year, coming off a 5-inning stint against the Cubs his last time out, when he gave up 3 runs and lost 3-0 in a 5-inning outing. Finds the zone. It's 3-1.
You know, and it's probably maddening for, pitching coach Dave Wallace and Buck Showalter to see what he can feature. 93 to 96, good breaking ball, good changeup, but pitching from behind. At least that's what we've seen. For the most part, this is what he is. 2-0, 3-1.
That's a strike. Hannigan taking a close look. 3-2 now.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a point of emphasis for him, is your stuff is good enough to start on a half of the plate that you pick and expand from there, instead of trying to pick and make the perfect pitch early, fall behind 2-0, and then come back into the zone. That's a very difficult way to pitch, and tough to win consistently when you do so.
There's a line drive to short, and the throw back to first. They're going to double up Escobar. Hardy to Pierce, and Escobar's doubled off first.
Now, the old adage is freeze on a line drive. What you actually want to do is almost lean back towards the bag, and Escobar in that situation just got caught a little bit too far off first base. What makes it worse is the line drive was the shortstop out in front of him, and then you had to have a long throw come behind you. Watch the secondary lead. The line drive, that 1.5 steps is what cost him. The line drive, and he actually broke towards second.
Yeah, and the logic toward breaking towards second, there's no real point in it on a line drive in that direction.
No, you've got to see that through. I mean, you have to see that through. Easier said than done, because there is contact, and you want to start moving forward, but you got to recognize that low line and put the brakes on immediately. And Escobar just not able to do it in time.
Three and 0 now. Three and 1 to count to Kiermaier. Kiermaier lifts a popper third base side, drifting into the stands. So a full count. Kiermaier back in the starting lineup after missing the last 2 games. Two, foul the other way again and out of play. Rays got 2 runs in the first, an unearned run in the second inning. Baltimore run came on the Chris Davis home run in the second. We're now in the top of the fourth. Kiermaier earns himself another pitch here with a 3-2 count. Grousman out of Colorado. He was originally drafted by the Dodgers and passed up their offer to LSU. Fly ball to center. Jones makes the catch. No runs, a hit, double play, nobody left. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Baltimore, as promised earlier, we have the AT&T fan photo for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. So tweet your photo using hashtag #SunSportsFanPhoto now. Middle of the order to face Drew Smyly for Baltimore in the bottom of the fourth. It'll be Adam Jones, Nelson Cruz, and then Delman Young. Jones struck out swinging his first time. One of 3 strikeouts posted by Smyly in this game. Cut and a miss. Strike one. He started him with a breaking ball back in the first, got a called strike on that, and then eventually struck him out on a curveball. Swing and a miss here in the fourth on one. Into the dirt. The count is 1-1.
Well, Adam Jones, we've talked about how aggressive he is, and Drew Smyly, his style of pitching is to take advantage of that aggressiveness and use it against you. He knows that Adam Jones wants to swing the bat, so you come with something soft, you slow him down, you frustrate him, then occasionally you speed him up with a fastball.
And he drops this one in there for a strike call. How about that?
Yeah, well, Adam Jones wants to get it started. He wants to turn and burn. He's saying 1-1. Now I'm going to get my fastball. No, not yet.
A ball, 2 strikes. And it's popped up. Hannigan behind the plate there to make the catch, and nice job there by the left-hander Drew Smyly.
Slow him down, frustrate him. Oh, here's your fastball. 1 and 2, right on your thumbs. Little pop up to the catcher. And that's how Smyly pitches, and that's how he's pitched since he's come to the Rays, and he's put up tremendous outings.
And that's what he did not only with Jones here, but Cruz in the first.
Yeah.
Remember when he popped him up to short? Same kind of situation.
Well, and as you saw on that pitch right there, we're back to the touches. Got a little deeper into this game. Dark out.
Ground ball right back to the mound. And the toss to Loney. 2 up and 2 down. Hey, you can learn more about healthy eating with this Matt Moore plate and cup set. It's the divided plate, shows kids and BA what to eat during a meal, presented by Fresh for Florida Kids, and will be given to kids 14 and under while supplies last when the Rays play the Red Sox Sunday, August 31st. Call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Ground ball off the bat of Delvin Young. Longoria's going to throw him out. Boy, we'll have to go back to that later. 1, 2, 3, go the Orioles. Moving into the 5th inning here in Baltimore, 3rd game of this 4-game series. Let's take a peek over to the National League and see what's going on in the National League West, where the Dodgers have opened a 5-game lead on the San Francisco Giants. It's going to be always an interesting race there with the Dodgers and Giants involved. Clayton Kershaw seems to be the key to that. He's pitching tonight out in Arizona against the Diamondbacks.
I've heard of this young man, Dwayne. I have heard of this young man, and I see by his numbers and his ranks that he is quite good at what he does.
You know, the Diamondbacks earlier this year roughed him up a little bit, and he came out of that one and I think has won 13 of his last 15 decisions since that outing.
Well, that's where someone who is ranked in the 1st or 2nd quadrant of the league is going to do. He's going to win a lot. He's going to be very good, and I commend him on the job that he has done this year for that for that league and that division. This team.
Keep an eye on that to see if the Giants can make their move. Those two teams have, I think, 6 games left to play between the two of them. 3-3 series. TJ McFarland is the new pitcher. 4 innings for Gaussman, and that's it. Top of the order is Desmond Jennings. He takes the pitch down. 1 ball, no strikes. Jennings with a double in 2 at-bats against Gaussman. Now faces the left-hander. Pitch is 1-1. It was a quick and entertaining foray into the National League West there. 2-team race right now. This one by Davis as he deflects it into shallow left, and Jennings is aboard. That's the 5th error of the year charged to Chris Davis. Rays have a base runner to lead off the inning.
And then Chris Davis just not able to get to that chopper by Desmond Jennings. We've seen Chris play a pretty solid third base so far. First 2 games of this series, but not able to come up with that. And maybe it's just one of those nights for Baltimore tonight. Looking a little bit sloppy out there. The Rays have taken advantage, have the lead, and are into that Baltimore bullpen.
Here's Ben Zobrist. 2 errors committed by the Orioles tonight. Pitch is a strike. We had Gaussman at 80 pitches through 4 innings. And the bunt out in front of the plate. The throw's going to be the second. And Jennings is forced there. Hardy taking the throw from Joseph.
You have to have a very alert internal clock, and that's what Caleb Joseph had there. Ben Zobrist, this bunt does not get far enough away from Joseph. And even with Desmond Jennings running, he realizes that he can get out to it and still get him at second base. That's a risky play, but a play that he knew he could make based on where that bunt ended up. Not far enough away. Boy, he has been impressive defensively for Baltimore.
He's done it all for the Orioles behind the plate. There's Matt Joyce. Pitch is down. Want to know the count to Matt Joyce. Two balls, no strikes. Four innings for Gaussman. He gave up 3 runs, 2 earned to a wild pitch, struck out 4, allowed 6 hits. That gives way to TJ McFarland.
Well, that's one way that Buck Showalter tries to save the pitch count and the innings. Gaussman, everything was a struggle for him tonight. The outs, a lot of deep counts. Had to work hard in his 4 innings. Did have 1 quick inning of just 8 pitches in the third, but everything else was difficult at best.
Joyce in there against the lefty. There goes the runner, and the pitch is fouled back. Rays had Zobrist taking off from first.
The one thing that you know about the Rays, when they're behind, they play cautious. When they're out in front, that's when you start to see runners put in motion, hit and run, straight steals, trying to increase that lead as they already have one. You don't see them do that too much when they're behind.
strikes. 2 gone. He's going to get Evan Longoria to the plate. How about the American League Central, where Kansas City got a big win. And now.
How about this?
Yeah, how about that?
That was against the Yankees, and through David's 2 innings, every Yankee had a hit. 12 total, 8 runs.
So Kansas City getting that big walk-off win last night.
Yeah.
And getting some help, it would appear, in a big way from the Yankees.
Well, think about Detroit's situation. You know, David Price had obviously a rough one tonight. Anibal Sanchez is set back, and he may be lost for the rest of the season. Buck Farmer has not been able to come through. Porcello's been good.
Yeah, he's been as steady as you can ask anybody to be. He was outstanding when the Rays saw him. The game he pitched at Tropicana Field was spot on. The pitch is fouled. One ball, 2 strikes here. Runner at first, Ben Zobrist. 2 outs and Longoria behind McFarland. First, one thing we know for sure, McFarland's car is not double parked, nor does he have dinner reservations or tickets to any late night concert.
An epidemic across the game. It really, I mean, he's just one of a number of guys that can just get in line, because you're going to throw out the anchor and it's going to take a while.
Now 2-2 to Evan.
And I mean, really, it's just not fun to watch. I mean, to be quite honest with you, you have these at bats that take 3 or 4 minutes, full count. You may get a foul ball, nothing happens.
Well, it is an issue that baseball recognizes the need to address, and apparently attempting to formulate a game plan to address it. There's a base hit the other way. Longoria's aboard. One of the beauties of the game is the rhythm of the game, and that must be addressed. And they can start on the mound and the hitter in the batter's box.
Yeah, that's exactly where you start. Pitchers take all day. We timed some ourselves this year on the Rays staff, and you're getting you're closing in on a minute in between pitches.
Yeah, and that is no exaggeration.
That is not. We got up there 48 seconds, 52 seconds. That is gross baseball. That's awful. And then the hitters, they're going to take their walk and their little parade around the batter's box.
Round ball, backhand by Scope, but with time gets Loney at first, and the Rays lead 2. Bottom of the 5th coming. It's 3-1 Tampa Bay. 4 and leads in this game 3-1.
Well, Drew Smyly victimized by a solo shot by Chris Davis, but other than that, he has just gone back to the formula that worked so well for him in Toronto, moving the ball around, the cutter, dropping some curveballs in there, mixing the fastball up. We've seen him elevate a few, pitching in on the righties, just using all 4 quadrants of the strike zone, and just that one hit so far.
J.J. Hardy pitches a strike. Hardy 0 for 1. Fly ball caught by Jennings in center field. There's the curveball. He's used that nicely tonight. 0-2.
He's had command of it. That, you're absolutely right. He's been able to roll that thing in there. I shouldn't say roll it, snap it in there for a lot of called strikes. Got some swings with it. Just look at that sequence of pitches so far. He went fastball away, strike 1, curveball middle of the plate, strike 2, and then cutter in and foul ball. Just working his way right across the zone with 3 different pitches. That is so tough to face a guy that's able to do that.
Down and in, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
With the transition for Drew Smyly into this Rays clubhouse, under this Rays rotation, has been seamless. I mean, he's just walked in and done his thing.
This one popped up, foul ball near the dugout. Loney trying to make a sliding catch, and he could not hang on. The ball popped away from him.
Well, that's a play that really needs to be made, and James Loney, always good at it. It should have never come to the slide. That ball was up there long enough that you could have made your way over to the railing and then made the catch. But you see, as James Loney was kind of drifting on it, all of a sudden here comes the low divider, and he slides, and that ball right off his wrist.
You know, that's another play, and the Rays have run across a number of those this year and a lot lately.
Yeah.
That you have seen this team make those plays time after time, almost routinely. And now we're seeing outfielders, in this case the first baseman, get there ready to make the catch, and the catch is not made. Now a strikeout. Hardy chased that one, and Hannigan has to go down to Loney to complete the strikeout. And that's really, I know, a head scratcher for Joe Madden when he tried to analyze this team, because they have just not made plays defensively that he thinks are absolutely makeable.
No, yeah, this is one of, and should be one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. And some of these plays that haven't been made have nothing to do with the physical nature of the play itself. Communication issues, not getting to where you're supposed to be. You know, there's been a lot of different reasons for it. But you know, these are the areas that you falter in. We talk about some other areas where the team has struggled. Talk about the offense with runners in scoring position. They're getting the opportunities, but they're not cashing in on them.
Well, check swing, and quickly off the mound, Smyly with the pickup. You know, that's the other thing about Smyly as he retires Chris Davis. He's agile out there on the mound. He's an understated guy, both on and off the field, and that's one of the reasons I think that he's fit in so well here. But he's quick off the mound.
Yeah, he was quick right to the baseball. Had a great line to it. Turned a strong throw to first. Well, you can help yourself out there and be a good fielder and be athletic coming off the mound. You can. It's just another way to add to your value, give you a better chance to make plays and win games.
Caleb Joseph takes the pitch too low. 1 ball, no strikes. One and one. Popped up. It's Loney in the foul territory. It comes back fair. That ball fair as he made the catch. 10 in a row retired by Smiley. 3-1 Rays.
Yards, Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Coming up Saturday, guys, our first live look at this new giveaway. It's Rebel Pilot Will bobblehead. The Will Myers bobblehead in a Star Wars Rebel Pilot outfit. Great detail in there. As you can see, the helmet, the orange suit. That'll be if you go on to RaysBaseball.com/special tickets for Saturday's game against the Red Sox while supplies last. That's a pretty cool item. So go to RaysBaseball.com/special ticket. And we do have a question for you on our Ask the Announcer website Wednesday involving Will Myers. You guys have discussed how Will's had a little trouble this year with that down and away pitch. Fans want to know what's the adjustment Will needs to make to help him out on that pitch. Guys, what do you think about this bobble, by the way?
Well, the question is not what we think of the bobblehead, is what does Will Myers think of his likeness? That seems to be the question that needs to be answered. I'm a Star Wars guy, so I kind of like it, but we'd like to get Will's feedback on what he thinks of his likeness.
Yeah, and his reaction, I'm sure, would be concise, as they all are, right to the point.
By the way, I got the website wrong, guys. It's RaysBaseball.com/special event. Special event, not special ticket. There you go.
I got you. There's a strike to Will Myers. You know, I think that's the first mistake I've ever heard Todd make in all these years.
Or make. Are we going to go with it? I think it's admit.
I got you.
Between me and you. Apparently not now.
Well, there you go. 1-1.
No, he never. Well, he doesn't. He's always so prepared for his hit.
Yeah.
They fire it down to him, and he just, or you fire it down to him, and he just lays it out there, tells us what we need to know and why we need to know it, and then off he goes to try to dig up another story.
Always a self-contained segment. Rays facing T.J. McFarland, and Myers down in the count, 1-2.
Even if that story happens to be a bachelorette party.
That's been a recurring theme.
Good stories.
Mm-hmm. Well, you stay with something that works. There he is. He's quality testing the bobble on the head right now. Seems to be working.
He's very interested in this at bat.
Got an extra fan.
Well, already Myers not where he would like to be with his two-strike approach.
Yeah,
that is not to get to 2 strikes.
Yeah, and that's a funny way to put it, a simple way to put it. But when I look at Will Myers, if I'm a pitcher, he stands up nice and tall, but that front hip leaks down the third base line so quickly that he just gives up down and away. He just gives that up. He's not competitive out there. And so, a lot of it has to do with the leaking of that hip. You see how strong he is. That ball should not have been hit that far. Any other player, kind of like the Chris Davis home run, they make that swing, that ball's not going to travel that far. His strength is incredible, but that area, and you've seen teams time and time again go down there one pitch after the other because he gives it up, and it's easy to see that. And so until he's able to, he doesn't have to make that hole completely go away. He just needs to shorten it up a little bit, and it's going to have to do with the front side staying in just a little bit longer.
And he's one of those guys, and we've seen it in the past. There's a strike to Escobar. He's so strong. He doesn't have to hit the ball like some guys have to hit the ball. That is, hit it well.
Yeah.
He can hit a ball to a degree and still get it out.
Yep.
We saw that fly ball right there.
Yep. And he's a guy that has quick enough hands. What you want is you don't want to clear your hips in order to clear your hands. Mm-hmm. You want your hands to clear your hips. And right now, when you look at his swing, it looks like, okay, the hips get clear, now the hands can come through. That will leave you vulnerable. That will lead to holes in your swing.
Yeah, and that comes from a guy who pays attention to things like that, a pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, all pitchers, and I mean, that's one of the first things that we talked about a long time ago. And a pitcher zeroes in. When they see a new hitter, you know what it's like. You've done it yourself. Fly ball to right. Markakis takes care of this. 2 gone. Cat and mouse game.
You're just looking for a weakness.
Yeah.
You're looking for something that you can exploit. And you go look at video, and you can look at video of guys that are similar to you against Will Myers, or once you start to build up some at-bats, how does he approach me? What is he giving me? What is he showing me? But the one thing that I see right off the bat with Will is he stands up nice and tall, the high hands, and then he starts to close the hips as the pitcher's delivering to the plate, and then immediately they open right back up. And that leaves him vulnerable, very vulnerable to pitches like that, down and away.
A strike to Hannigan. Can you imagine if he would sync all that up and then hit a ball squarely with his strength, how far that might travel?
Well, he has, his first home run was a grand slam to the opposite field off CC Sabathia. Mm-hmm. He can hit the ball with power the other way. He certainly has the capabilities of being a right-handed power hitter that is right center all the way around. Yep. And if he keeps that front side in there just a little bit longer and trusts his hands to be able to get to the ball that's in, that's when you'll see him driving to all fields with extra base power. Right now, it's more of the cripple type pitches out over the plate with some elevation. That's where he's going to hurt you.
Two and one now. Base is empty, 2 outs. Hannigan reached on Hardy's error in the second inning and scored a run. Line drive to short, his last time up. Roller to second. Scoops and throws to first, and Hannigan is out, number 3. Through 5.5, 3-1, Tampa Bay. Run early tonight with a 2-run first. Then Zobrist doubled and later scored on a ground ball the second. Will Myers dropped a base hit into right, chasing home Matt Joyce. Zobrist with a sacrifice fly to right, got Hannigan home in the second. Drew Smiley has made 55 pitches through 5, allowing a run on the home run by Chris Davis. And that's about it. He's retired 10 in a row, and 14 of his last 15 hitters faced.
Yeah, listen, he just continues that run that he had in Toronto, where he finished that game retiring 19 in a row. And the beauty is in the fact that Smiley's not blowing you away with the radar gun. He just, you just go back to that first 3 pitches to Hardy. Fastball away, strike 1. Curveball middle, strike 2. Cutter down and in for a foul ball. He just continues to move that ball around and just doesn't allow these hitters to get comfortable.
Scope fouls the breaking ball back.
I like, too, what he can do with his arm angle. He can drive the ball downhill. He can drive the cutter downhill, but he can also elevate. Not many guys can do that coming from that arm angle. Drive it downhill and elevate. Then you got the curveball. Then you can cut it. He uses the cutter to both sides.
Well, you saw the distribution of outs there, pretty evenly spread among strikeouts, balls in the air, and ground balls.
He uses, and he's gotten a couple swings and misses on. That was a cutter right there. That's the way that Andy Pettitte would use his cutter. He would drive that cutter downhill, down and into the righties, and either get them to roll over and hit you a 14 hopper to third base, or swing right over the top of it and swing and miss. And that's the way that he used that pitch. Drew Smiley, we've seen him start to be able to do that a little bit. There's a lot to like about what different ways he can attack a hitter.
Two, and he pops him up shallow right. Kiermaier coming in a hurry is there to make the grab. Scope out number 1 in the 6th. Smiley goes to the top of the order again, starting the 3rd time through with the leadoff man Nick Markakis up. Markakis has grounded out to first and hit a fly ball to center. Breaking ball to the left-handed hitter. 1 ball, no strikes. And comes back to go 1-1. Well placed with his fastball there. And 2.
Example of it right there. Up in the zone, down in the zone, down and away. Slow it down with the curveball. And I'll tell you, it's impressive too. His first 4 starts came with Kurt Casale behind the plate, calling games, getting used to him. Now all of a sudden Ryan Hannigan steps in. Ryan hasn't been here very long, coming back from the disabled list. And this has been a seamless transition too.
Line drive caught by Zobrist. 2 up and 2 down. It's game 3 of the series, the wrap-up game of the series and the road trip tomorrow. Here's what's coming up on Rays Live tomorrow. The pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. We'll hear from Jeremy Hellickson, who will be doing the pitching, and BA will break down Bud Norris. Norris starts that game tomorrow with a record of 11-8.
Got my work cut out for me. I don't want to disappoint.
1 ball, no strikes, but you've broken him down before, even when he was with Houston.
I don't remember that, though. I don't remember that. But But yeah, I think that we've worked together before.
I remember you as being right on the money, breaking him down.
Well, I did get my facts straight.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's why the highlighter, that's why you and I, we do our work. Because when we come out and say something, you want it to be accurate. And I know that what I said about Bud Norris that night was completely accurate. It was very Will Myrish.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sure, to the point. You know, when you do your work, you're confident. You approach the telecast, and you were that day. Right on. And confident. 2-1 to count on Steve Pearce.
I'm just happy to be there.
Aren't we all? Down to third, it goes by Longoria, diving to his left through the hole. And Pearce extends his hitting streak to 10. 12 in a row, retired by Smiley before the base hit by Steve Pearce.
Able to get the head out on a cutter that never quite got where Drew Smiley wanted it. He's able to pop it through the hole there. That had to come to an end at some point. Drew had been so good, retired so many hitters in a row. A 2-out single. That's all right, but you got to bear down here with Adam Jones.
Well, Jones 0 for 2 tonight. Fouled out to Hannigan the last time. Struck out swinging on a breaking ball his first time up. And a big cut to miss. Boy, Jones, a big long cut on the breaking ball.
And he still has not been able to time this pitch up. He's still too early on it. 75, but look how far out in front. And I get that he's trying to drive it, hit a home run, but he's too quick on the curveball.
There's a foul ball into the Rays dugout. Heads up, fellas. Two strikes the count. George Hendrick a little excited about that foul ball into the Rays dugout. He's come down to join Dave Martinez and Joe Madden.
And he'll let you know about it too. He's letting them have an earful.
Runner goes. Breaking ball is down and in. Throw's not going to be in time. Pearce picks up a steal, his 5th of the year, in as many attempts.
Boy, how about Hannigan coming up out of that crouch, throwing from behind Adam Jones. No chance to get Pearce, but wanted to show off that arm. You talk about going firing from with a screen.
So Pearce steals his way into scoring position. A 1-2 count on Adam Jones. And he comes back to get him. Breaking pitch again. Jones out on strikes. Orioles retired in the 6th with a man left on second. Bay Rays baseball on Sun Sports, brought to you by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. It takes conviction, creativity, and courage to build cars worth driving. This is the Mazda way. By Nissan, choose Nissan today. For great offers on our most exciting lineup ever, shop ChooseNissan.com. And by Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. Available exclusively at Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. Four innings for the starter, Kevin Gausman. 2 innings for T.J. McFarland, the lefty, in relief of Gausman. Kevin Kiermaier set to lead off the 7th. Then Jennings and Zobrist due up. And a bunt by Kiermaier out towards Schoop. The throw to first. Just in time.
Wow. Wow. Did not think. I thought once Kiermaier got that ball by McFarland, the way that he gets out of the box from the left side, that he was going to be able to beat that. But that was a nice play by Schoop. Sensing the urgency of the situation, coming in quickly. This ball was bunted maybe a little bit too hard, but still, great play by Schoop.
Now the top of the order. Desmond Jennings. Desmond shorten up on that bat a little bit, taking the pitch for ball 1. One and one. All the scoring in this game taking place in the first 2 innings. It has been 3-1 since the end of 2. We're now in the 7th. Ball 2 strikes. Desmond with a hit tonight. He doubled in the 2nd inning. Double advanced Hannigan to 3rd, and that set up Zobrist, who delivered the sacrifice fly. Fly ball short center. Jones is there. 2 outs. We'd like to have a few more runs for the Rays. This lineup being what it has been for Baltimore this year, and that long ball threat. Smiley has been excellent for the Rays through 6.
And that's the one thing that does concern you, because as we saw in game 1 of this series, how quickly they can put up 3, 4, 5 runs in a matter of a few hitters. But you got to credit McFarland for the job that he's done coming in here for Gausman.
Marlin gets ahead of Zobrist with a strike. McFarland's given up 1 hit. There's a line drive to left. Cruz makes the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the Rays in the 7th. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Of the 7th inning, and as promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo of the game. Tweet your photo to hashtag #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to be shown at an upcoming game broadcast brought to you by AT&T. Drew Smyly has made 72 pitches through the first 6. In the gym he put together Friday in Toronto, he had only 2 3-ball counts in that game when he faced just one man over the minimum in going the distance, facing 28 hitters. He had a 3-ball count back in the first inning. In this game, he was 3-1 to Pierce, and that's been it. Our pitching performance presented by Volkswagen, and there's the breakout on Drew Smyly. First pitch fouled back and out of play by Nelson Cruz, strike 1. (13 out of 22 first pitch strikes). High. He's been ahead in the count to start these hitters almost all night. Only twice has he fallen behind 2-0. That foul ball will give him the edge here on Cruz. A ball and 2 strikes.
That makes your job easier too. Not only having command of a few different pitches, but staying out of those bad counts. And we harp on that all the time. And for some pitchers, easier said than done. But when you're able to do that, it just, I mean, it allows you to dictate the at bat, not vice versa.
Two and two.
And it immediately puts the hitter on the defensive. You know, when he's 0-2, 1-2, now he's just looking to stay alive. When he's 2-0, 3-1, he's digging in, daring you to come out over the plate. Big difference in approach.
Down and in. So he has another 3-ball count, the second one of those tonight. He is 3-2 against Nelson Cruz. Fouls this one.
You know, when you see a guy in a full count go after a pitch like that, you say to yourself, it's going to be hard to walk him. I'm going to have to really have a ball come out of my hand poorly to walk this guy. So just present it somewhere near the zone, and you're going to get it.
Young next, and then J.J. Hardy due to hit third in the frame. Here we go with another 3-2, and he got him. Came back with a breaking ball and strikes him out. Had him out in front of the breaking ball.
Yeah, I mean, it was not the best breaking ball we've seen all night from Drew Smyly, but it threw the timing of Cruz off. You see him like double clutch, like right there, and then try to pull it through. Ended up being bad enough that it stayed above the swing, but you can see Cruz right there. The timing of the swing was off. Well, the timing of this lineup has been off tonight.
Now Delman Young. One ball, no strikes. 6 strikeouts for Smyly. Up 1 walk, 2 hits. One of the hits a home run by Chris Davis. Two 2-0 to Young. Rays starting to get some action in their bullpen. The liner up the middle, and right there for it is Zobrist, who makes the pickup. Saw Smyly take a swipe at it as it went by the mound, and the Rays had Zobrist positioned perfectly.
You could see Drew Smyly on one hand horrified at that ball going right over his head, but then how excited he was when he realized that there was a fielder there. His ball is going to go zipping right over, but then he turns and he's like, oh my gosh, there's somebody there. That's going to be an out. There's no better feeling than that. You could.
Yeah, especially getting behind one of the few times he's been behind in the count. That went 2-0. Here's J.J. Hardy. And a strike to him to start the at-bat. Two. Brad Boxberger up in the Rays bullpen. 3-1 ball game as we play in the bottom of the 7th. 1-2. It's Tommy Hunter throwing in the bullpen for Baltimore. Two and two. And that's going to be caught by Joyce to retire the side. We go to the 8th. 3-1 Rays.
Gorey with a big hole to climb out of with his batting average, but his production's been better lately with 30 runs batted in his last 35 games.
Really, I've been focused on just trying to put up some production numbers. It's really tough to climb out of a batting average hole when you get this far into the season with as many at-bats as you have, but more importantly, just trying to get hits with runners in scoring position, trying to help the team manufacture runs when we can, runners at second and nobody out, trying to have a good at-bat and approach, and if I'm not getting a hit, being able to move that guy over or give the next guy an opportunity to score him. So I feel like my at-bats have gotten much better in that respect.
310 batting average guys with runners in scoring position, and with that stretch since the All-Star break of 30 RBIs in the last 35 games, if he continues that pace the last 30, he could be right around 100 runs batted in. More after this.
brought to you by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. They're the top of the 8th. The Rays have a 3-1 lead. TJ McFarland worked 3 innings, went out there to open the 8th, but the Rays had called upon Logan Forsythe to hit for Joyce, and with that, Buck Showalter makes the pitching change once the right-hander Tommy Hunter, who is on for appearance number 46.
48 in the 3rd innings, 35 strikeouts, 11 walks to go along with an ERA just over 3.5. Tommy Hunter, big with the fastball velocity, but it stays pretty straight.
Forsythe, that's a strike to Logan. Well, a good job by McFarland. 3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit.
Yeah, someone needed to come in for Baltimore and try to calm this game down and give their offense a chance to get back in it. The problem has been Drew Smyly's been too good on the other side for the Rays.
2 the count. Longoria will be next, and then Loney. Drew Smyly. Another great job on the hill tonight by the Rays left-hander. It's a ball, 2-strike count. Squares it. 2-2. Breaking pitch missing. Forsythe goes down swinging. Another curveball. One away in the 8th. Raymond isn't around to help ignite a Rays rally. His gnome may be able to do the trick. The Raymond Rally Gnome, available only through the purchase of a Tampa Bay Times ticket tandem. And the Rays take on the Red Sox Friday, August 29th. For tickets, visit RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Evan Longoria up here, 2 for 3 on the night. Evan's average at 253 right now. And a line drive off Hardy's glove and into left. A 3-hit night for Longoria.
Well, maybe there is something you can do about that batting average. You keep putting together nights like this.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when he said that. I know that he's not going to hit 300, but you get a few of these, it'll make a difference.
I just like the aggressive swings. Watch him get right down through this and drive this pitch right off of the glove of J.J. Hardy. We saw some of those swings in Toronto. We saw one yesterday off of Chen. Starting to turn it loose. Absolutely has been productive since the All-Star break, at least as far as driving runs in.
James Loney. Loney is 1 for 3. Tap charged by Scope. Out at second. Out at first. Nicely done by the Baltimore infield. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 3-1 Rays. Here is tonight's Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers game summary. We're headed into the bottom of the 8th. The Rays 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors. Baltimore a run, 2 hits, 2 miscues. Drew Smyly has worked the front 7, 87 pitches, giving up 1 run on the home run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. Smyly will depart this game in favor of Brad Boxberger, and Drew retired 16 of the last 17 men he faced.
Yeah, so let's make sure we get him out of the game.
Well, he tamed the middle part of that order. Jones and Cruz, they were a collective 0 for 6 with 3 strikeouts between them. And here is Chris Davis now to face Brad Boxberger. The pitch is a strike to Chris Davis.
I'll tell you this much. This Baltimore lineup may not be able to do much off Boxberger and McGee, but they are thankful to be seeing these two more than likely coming into this game. The way that Smyly just confounded them all night long. He was outstanding.
Well, where do you put your best hitters? 3, 4, 5, and 6 maybe?
Usually.
They were 0 for 12 against Smyly tonight.
It was those 2 hits that did him in. And that pitch count, he had run it up to 87.
Walking only 1, 6 strikeouts. One ball, 2 strikes. Rays move Forsythe into second, and Zobrist out to left here defensively, with Boxberger taking over in the 8th. Takes care of Chris Davis. So he's out on strikes.
Fastball mid-90s by Boxberger, just around the belt, and you see Chris Davis with those low hands as he comes through the zone to swing, and you can beat him up above his swing with good velocity. Boxberger doing it right there.
Caleb Joseph. High down the right side, long run. Kiermaier gets there, makes the catch in fair territory, and had some hang time on it, enough to give Kiermaier the opportunity to make the catch just inside the line. Nice to have that coverage out there in the outfield. Two outs, and it's going to be Jonathan Schoop. Schoop is struck out, flied out. One ball, no strikes. Aaron O'Day loosening in the bullpen for Baltimore. One. Hot shot down to third off the glove of Longoria, rolling into shallow left. Schoop with a low screamer down to third. There's Longoria trying to shake off the effects of that on the glove hand.
Yeah, you wonder if it got the thumb, what it got, because that ball was absolutely smoked. Not only was it hit hard, but look at the action on this thing. Little top spin. Well, he hit him right in that thumb. Release the thumb of the glove and probably wrench that wrist around.
They're going to give him an error. Oh, that ball was smoked.
Wow. Let's see if that holds.
Markakis out in front of the changeup for a strike. Yeah, that's a painful error in more ways than one. But they do have a high standard in Baltimore when it comes to third base, dating back to Brooks Robinson.
That you can understand.
Tapper, that's going to be fair. Boxberger's throw is in time. Markakis out, and so are the Orioles. We go to the ninth with the Rays leading 3-1. Baltimore. This week, college football returns with a full slate of games. Rutgers takes on Washington State. Colorado State battles Colorado, and North Dakota State takes on Iowa State. And Fresno State looks to upset 15th ranked USC on Fox. It all begins Thursday on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Darren O'Day is pitcher number 4 for the Orioles and Buck Showalter. 56th appearance for Day. O'Day an 0.94 ERA.
And more than a strikeout an inning, an opponent's average of 176. Of course, you know that he comes from down under. Deep sidearm, not quite submarine, but in between. Tough on right-handed hitters.
Pitched an inning in the game Monday. That was just to get some work. And here's Will Myers. Will single home a run in the first. He is 1 for 3. And he takes a strike. Shift on for Myers against O'Day. In there. 0-2. There's strike 3. Catches him looking.
If you look at all three of those pitches and watch Will Myers hit, watch his front hip, watch the front leg, they're immediately, as the pitch is being delivered, they're immediately starting to leak down the third base line. You get to see it right here. Up, this ball's away. Look where the legs go. Look where the hip is headed. No chance to get to that pitch, ever.
Now Yudel Escobar. Escobar into right center field with this one. Jones will cut it off. Escobar heads for second, and he is in there ahead of the throw. That's a nice play by Jones. Boy, we've seen him very active out there. A Gold Glove center fielder to be sure, and he unleashed a very good throw. Escobar gets there ahead of him.
Yeah, and you know what? Yudel Escobar realized quickly out of the box. Adam Jones covers ground, has a good arm. If you want to double, you better go. And he's able to just get in there.
So a double for Escobar, and here is Ryan Hannigan. Hannigan scored a run back in the second inning when the Rays cashed in on a Baltimore error. That was the third run of the game for the Rays. Baltimore got a run in the bottom of the second inning, and that's been the extent of the scoring so far. Again, fouls it back, 1-1. Jake McGee in the bullpen. Rays now have 9 hits. And now the throw back to second on that inside move. And Escobar's back in there.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that can be effective because you're not expecting this. And you see right there, oh boy. And that's sometimes all it takes. Escobar, though, not too far off and able to get back.
A big cut and a foul ball back. Hannigan trying to stay in there against that delivery, and that pitch was up out over the plate. Had a good cut. It's Kiermaier on deck. Hannigan out on strikes. 2 gone. Coming up on Rays Live, the postgame presented by Checkers. Rich and Orestes anchoring the coverage tonight. We'll have Joe Madden's press conference. Drew Smiley continues to be outstanding for the Rays. And Todd will have interviews from the clubhouse. Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch is a strike. One strike the count. Kiermaier chops it to second. Ball stays down for Scope. He throws out Kiermaier. No runs. One hit, one left. Bottom of the ninth coming, and the Rays lead 3-1. Telecast presented by authority of the Tampa Bay Rays and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Rays. Bottom of the ninth inning finds Jake McGee on the hill for the Rays. Rays up 3-1. Smiley 7 excellent innings. Boxberger did his job in the 8th, and now Jake McGee on with Steve Pearce, Adam Jones, and Nelson Cruz due up.
Now 14 out of 15 in saves, an ERA of 1.33, 79 strikeouts in 61 innings. It has been an outstanding year all around for Jake McGee. And coming up against this part of the lineup, you know what is going on here. Steve Pearce, Adam Jones, they're going to be taking big swings at a big fastball. Sit back and enjoy.
Well, here is Steve Pearce. He's been on twice tonight. Walked and singled in between. They got him out on a fly ball to right. So he's extended his streak to 10. Jake McGee, fastball, and it's fouled away.
You know, the one thing, listen, how often do we talk about Jake McGee's going to come in and pump fastballs? Everybody knows it.
Yep.
But with his command being so much better this year, they can be a good fastball hitter, but he knows where to go with it. You can't cover everything. And so that command has helped him to be able to take the fastball to good fastball hitters.
Pearce fouls it back, and the count is 0-2.
Well, that's, you know, you start to think about the number of good fastball hitters in the big leagues. There's a lot of guys. It doesn't mean you don't throw it to them. You just put it in a good spot, and Jake can do that better now than at any point in his career.
Fouls this fastball back. 36 on the gun here. The The Rays got into their bullpen early here Monday and last night as well. This has worked out the way Joe Maddon was looking for it to work out. We got 7 from Smiley, then to Boxberger, and now McGee. Is out on strikes.
Chase there. That was a 1-2 fastball by McGee that looked to be off the plate away. But your decision making as a hitter is sped up with Jake McGee out there. And so you see Pierce right there realizing that he was going after a pitch that he couldn't do anything with, trying to hold up, but it was too late.
Yeah, you've got to make that decision so quickly. Once you do, and then you go, oh, this is not too good, this pitch.
Not too good.
Well, you know, what can you do?
Yeah, the decision process is quick enough as it is. It's expedited when you get a guy like McGee out there who can really pump the heater.
Adam Jones down and in.
Get that ankle out of the way if you enjoy running and walking.
This is the antithesis of the left-hander he was facing before. How about that? He had a tough night against Smiley with that curveball.
Sure did.
1-1, trying to speed it up here for McGee.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and hey,
he's had enough.
Yep.
One shot in there already, and now the second one, and he's going to take that baseball and leave. Sounds like a good strategy to me.
I'm in.
1-1. Okay, I'm with you. Fly ball the other way. Kiermaier is there. 2 gone. 2 up, 2 down in the ninth. It is the home run hitting Nelson Cruz headed to the plate. Cruz has popped out. He went out pitcher first and struck out. All of that against Drew Smiley, who retired 16 of the last 17 men he faced. Pitch is high. 1 ball, no strikes. Ground ball, shortstop, grabbed by Escobar. Throw to first, and the Rays win this one. Nice play by Escobar and a good strong throw to first to end it. 1-2-3 go the Orioles, and the Rays are winners tonight 3-1 as Drew Smiley will pick up his 9th win of the year, his 3rd in 4 decisions for the Rays. 3-1 in a Rays uniform, 9-10 overall. Gausman, the losing pitcher, he is 7-6, and a good night. Good, crisp, clean game for the Rays as they put together this 3-1 victory.
Boy, after last night's game drug on 3 hours and almost 40 minutes of a Rays loss, frustrating enough, but you come out tonight, Drew Smiley gets it done quick. The Rays offense scores enough early, and then the bullpen, Boxberger and Jake McGee, come in and clean it up. The Rays get out of here. Quick game, nice win.
Smiley gets the win. McGee is saved. For Boxberger. So the Rays win their 65th game of the year. They're now 3 games under 500. Right now, let's go to the field. and Todd Callis.
Dwayne, thanks. Longo, last time we talked to you in Toronto, you said sometimes that first at bat can get you rolling. Did that happen tonight? Some good at bats?
Yeah, I mean, I just tried to put together consistent good at bats throughout the course of the game. I mean, Gosman's tough, and sometimes against those guys, you have your better at bats because you're able to really zone it in and knowing that the guys got good stuff. So I thought up and down the lineup we had a really productive night offensively.
It had been a tough series for you prior to tonight. Big to get that win and get a little bit of momentum going back?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough ball club, and they're kind of clicking right now on all cylinders. So I think, Drew did a great job going out there, setting the tempo for us, and pitched really well.
Where did that ball get you off Scope's bat? It looked like it was really hooking with a lot of topspin. Did it hit your?
I mean, he hit it. He hit it pretty good, and it was topspinning. I didn't know if it was going to hit the ground or not, so I kind of just put my glove towards the ground and hit the thumb of my glove. Tough no hit for him. He hit that ball hard.
Are you okay?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
What about that first inning? You had that situation with the base running mistake, and then you guys get that extra run on top when Will loops that ball on the right. Was that big not to leave that inning with just the one?
Yeah, I think so. I was just trying to be aggressive first to third there. I thought that, Joyce would for sure be running, and that was, my fault to assume.
And I guess, were you shaded at all from him? Did you not see him when you were?
Meaning
Chris Davis, did he block you from seeing where?
No. I mean, I was actually trying to look back over my right shoulder to see what Markakis was going to do with the ball, and as soon as he let it go towards home, I assumed that Joyce was running home and that there was going to be a play, and it's just a mistake on my part.
5 hits in 2 games with the new shoes. They stay for a little while?
Yeah, I mean. For me personally, I guess it's been a success, but we're 1-1 with them on. So I guess I'll try them out tomorrow, and if we split this series on the road, I'll keep them going.
Thanks for the time, Evan.
Okay, thanks.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you. The Rays winners tonight, 3-1 over the Baltimore Orioles. Back to wrap this portion of it in a moment.